Hello, and welcome to today's session entitled Holidays, How to Enjoy the Holidays and Minimize the Stress. This is brought to you by Anthem, which is your employee assistance program. My name is Teresa Francois, and I will be your host for today's session. Depending on when you're listening to this, we already have Thanksgiving under our belt. So we've already, if you will, made it through one holiday. So today we're going to talk about how to have a successful holiday season. And as I said, if you're listening to this in December, whatever you celebrate going forward, December, July, October, holidays are holidays. So whatever it is that you celebrate, these things will show up. And I like to call them the 3 F's of the holidays that stress us out: friends, family, and food, not necessarily in that order. So we're going to take a look at what are our expectations, what are our traditions, and how to beat those holiday blues that we may be feeling and that we've heard so much about. And then on the lighter side, we'll talk about the art of giving gifts and decorating. And most of all, how to stay well and stay healthy during the holiday season, which can be very stressful. So you want to look at it from a positive standpoint, if you will, realizing that in the United States, we have such a rich tapestry of cultures and traditions. So there are multicultural families, interfaith families. So there's a lot of excitement there. There's a lot of things to celebrate, right? But while you're thinking about it and you're thinking about traditions, know this, that you cannot incorporate everything. And don't stress yourself out trying to make everything part of your experience. And I imagine this year holidays will be different, right? Because we're almost 3 years into the pandemic. So this year there have been a lot of restrictions have been lessened. So people are getting out and about. So there is an expectation, which we'll talk about, that we will do things that we used to, things that are traditions. Watch that word, traditions, because traditions start with, but we always. Right? So what is that tradition going to look like for you? And if you've put some new traditions in place in the last 2.5 years, maybe you want to uphold them. So maybe you want a quiet time. Maybe you don't want a large family gathering. Or are you carrying on family traditions and finding out sometimes that those things that we think are traditions and we're holding on to, not necessarily so. Right? We might have thought it was a thing, and our siblings and our cousins are like, yeah, we don't even want to do that anymore. And I'll say this here, I'll say it several more times throughout. You want to make sure you are having a conversation, that you are communicating, right? So that everyone knows. And we want to communicate, and we want to communicate respectfully, and we want to communicate early on so that people understand. What is it that we want to do? What is it that we're going to do this year, especially if we're doing something different? So we want to start early with that discussion because, again, a lot of things have changed in the last 2.5 years. So people moved, people downsized their homes. So maybe the expectation is, but we always go to your house. Yes, when I had the larger house, but now we've downsized, we're smaller. So especially if there's going to be a change of venue, you need to put that out early on so that people can make other plans. So you want to hold a family meeting, whatever that family looks like or entails, so that everyone is on the same page, right? You also want to make sure that you have a budget and you're sticking to it, right? I heard a commercial yesterday. It was for a credit card, and it said, no interest until 2023. That's next month. Right? So those bills are going to come in very quickly. And a lot of things, again, have happened during the pandemic where people were furloughed, people were downsized, people are out of work. So what is our budget going to look like? What can we do this year? And we need to put that out there early enough, right? And you have to be willing to make changes and understand that when you do make changes, you'll get pushback from people, the traditionalists, if you will, the people who are going to stick with, but we've always done this, right? They may not ascribe to the idea of let's try something different this year, right? And really tap into your inner self. What would make you happy? this holiday season. If racing around and running around from event to event is not going to work for you, then you need to say that up front, right? And that's where we start to manage our expectations, knowing what you can afford, right? And not comparing ourselves to social media or our cousins or our siblings, knowing what you can afford, right? And knowing what you can do, not pushing yourself outside of your limits and outside of your boundaries. And knowing this, nothing's going to be perfect. Try as you might to set that perfect table. Someone's going to bring an extra person, so we only set the table for 10, now there are 11. So my perfect table now has an odd piece of china at it, so be it. But it's not about the odd piece of china, it's about that we are all here and we are able to sit down and share whatever the holiday is with each other. Right? Make sure you are setting limits and setting boundaries. And it's mentioned scheduling here. We'll talk about it here, and we'll hit it again later. Scheduling. See, here's where you want to use technology, right? Make sure everybody knows who's where. If you've got a college-age student, young person, they're coming home, they haven't seen their friends since the summer. Everybody went to different universities in September. They want to hang out with their friends. But we need to say, yeah, but Tuesday night we're going to grandma's. That's non-negotiable. See, that's an expectation. But I expected to hang out with my friends the week I came home. You can, but the expectation is you're going to be here Tuesday night to go to grandma's. And we have that out there early so that there isn't a miscommunication and people are upset and disappointed. Right? So there's a limit to what you can fit into your schedule, and there's a limit to how much you can eat and drink. Right? So again, what are the traditions? Keep the ones that work. Be open to new ones. Do we have a new family member that's of a different background? Someone got married. Someone brings home their roommate from college. Be open to some new traditions. Ask your colleagues what they do. You may also want to include some kind of charity work. There are some families that is part of their tradition, especially Thanksgiving. So they go to a soup kitchen or a food pantry the morning of, and they serve others, and then they come home to their family meal. Takes us outside of ourselves. And in line with getting outside of ourselves, we want to make sure that we are not getting into the holiday blues. And that can show up for a lot of reasons, right? We may feel isolated. We may feel depressed. There's been a lot going on. And our next slide, we'll talk about if we've lost a loved one, right? So and notice when it's just the blues, I'll get over it, or I need to speak to someone. I may need to speak to a professional. And the pandemic has given us that gift of being able to say it's okay to not be okay. I'm overwhelmed by this. I'm sad about this. I'm anxious about this. Right? And there are many places we can reach out for help. One being Anthem as your employee assistance program. You can reach out to your faith-based community. You can reach out to support groups that most of them are online by now. Right? Plan activities that you're going to genuinely look forward to. Remember with that caveat, though, of not overscheduling yourself and being able to say no. So if your friends call and, they're going to hang out this night, but this is the night you've decided to go to bed early. This is the night you've decided to do some self-care. You're going to take that hot bath and put on that fuzzy robe. Right? So you might have to say no to something. You want to stick to a routine, and this is something that the experts told us early on in the beginning of the pandemic. Sticking to a routine, because what does routine do? Routine keeps us grounded. We kind of know what to expect. Because holidays, we tend to, we're off this day, the kids are home, things move around a lot, right? But you want to keep some routines. You want to make sure you're getting up. If part of your routine is going to the gym, right? You want to keep that in your routine. You also want to limit your alcohol use because alcohol can be a depressant. And again, setting realistic expectations for yourself and for others. This is what I'm willing to do. This is what I'm not willing to do. This is what I'm able to do. These are the events I'm willing to attend. These are the events I'm not willing to attend. And also making sure you're finding time for yourself, for self-care. Right? Self-care used to have a woo-woo characteristic to it. Oh, it was women going for mani-pedis. But no, we're really looking at it now and care of self. What does that mean? Does it mean, again, maybe not going to an event or shortening it, going to only part of it, right? Making sure you're finding time for yourself, but balancing that with not being isolated or withdrawn from others. If you've lost someone, and if you've lost someone in the last 2.5 years, either from COVID or some other illness, please accept my condolences and be patient with yourself. Be compassionate with yourself. Give yourself space. Give yourself grace. Right? It's difficult to lose a loved one at any time. It's been very difficult in the last 2.5 years because we didn't get to go through the rituals around death and dying. So no wakes, no funerals, no sitting shiva, no going to the repast to celebrate their life. Right? And it doesn't matter if it was last week, last year, 2 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago. Grief is its own animal. Grief will show up, and it shows up around the holidays. And if we lost them on or near a holiday, it's that much more difficult. Right? So recognize those feelings of loss. Acknowledge them. We're not pushing them away or pretending they're not there. Right? And if someone is coming to the gathering that has lost someone, it's not the elephant in the room. We're not, don't talk about Uncle Joe. Aunt Mary's coming. We're going to talk about Uncle Joe. We're going to share stories about Uncle Joe and recall those fond memories. Remember the time, Uncle Joe would always say this, not talking about them makes it seem like they never existed. So we want to talk about them. We want to share those stories. Maybe do something in honor of them. Maybe we're putting an ornament on the tree with their name on it. Maybe we're giving a toast to them at the dinner table. Right? And if we talk about, or when we talk about Uncle Joe and Aunt Mary cries, that's fine. Right? We make sure we have some tissues on hand. Aunt Mary will cry. That's okay. We'll hug her. We'll tell her we love her. Right? The other thing is, if you're at the event, right, and you need to step away because you're feeling like, wow, this is a little too much, and this is where two things are going on. You're getting to step away, and you look like a hero. You volunteer to, I'll put the baby down. What's better than that, right? Babies are already soothing and comfortable and most of the time. Sometimes not, but for the most part. So I'll put the baby down. I'll put the boys in their pajamas, right? Gives you time to step away. And if someone says at the gathering, I need to step away, yeah, you know what? Go into the boys' room. Just watch out you don't step on any Legos, but go in the boys' room and take a minute. Let people take a minute. Right? Now, here's again the fine line. You want to plan activities that you enjoy to keep your mind occupied, but you don't want to overschedule yourself. You want to have some of that quiet time. And you want to be able to say to people, you know what? I don't think I can do the whole dinner. And if geographically you're close enough, you can say something like, you know what? I'll come for coffee and cake. Text me when you're putting up the coffee, when you're cutting the pie. I'll come for that. Right? That's knowing what I can and can't do. So in terms of traditions, right, things we may have to change up, lots of changes have happened. So we've lost someone. Maybe their house was the one we did it at, so we're going to have to do it somewhere else. We also have, we have new family members. Right? Maybe someone has been diagnosed with diabetes or celiac or Crohn's disease. So we need to know that maybe, and sometimes adults have allergies they didn't have as kids. I've heard adults where shellfish allergies show up. So we need to know that information. Right? Who's allergic? Who can eat this? Who can eat that? Let's have something on the table for them. Right? Again, though, knowing what you're able to do, what you can and can't do, doesn't mean you have to prepare everything. Right? And here's where we use technology again, right? We've got our calendar as to who's going where when. We set up a spreadsheet of who's bringing what. Because if you say to people, bring whatever you want, you wind up with 27 bottles of wine and no food. Someone said to me the other day, what's the problem there? But on a serious note, you use your spreadsheet and you say, you know what? I need you to pick up or to bring an entree. I need you to bring apple pie, not any dessert because we're all going to bring the same dessert. I need you to bring this specific dessert. I need you to bring this specific side. Right? This way the person's not figuring out what to bring. You're not planning 27 sides. Right? And this is part of that asking for help. Right? Say to your cousin, you know what? You're going to pass by Uncle Jimmy's. Can you pick up Uncle Jimmy on your way? Rather than you trying to cook the food, set the table, make sure the forks are in the right order, and dashing out to get Uncle Jimmy. And when people say, can I help? Oh, by all means, let them help. Find something for them to do before, during, and after. Yes, you can help. You can load the dishwasher. Yes, you can help. You can put all of the food in Ziploc bags. Oh, by the way, price of admission, storing leftovers in Ziploc bags or some bag that seals. Because if you're going to freeze it, you can stack it instead of, even in the fridge, you can stack it. Big, clumsy containers. We can't get everything in the fridge. Right? Be practical and know when to say when. Same thing with the art of gift giving. You want to plan and start early. What is that going to look like this year? We need to have a conversation about that. And some families have traditions around that. Some families only buy for the kids, people under 18. Some people this year we're going to give a gift of experiences. We're not giving tangible things. Right? Maybe all the siblings are going to chip in and give mom and dad that cruise they've wanted to go on. Maybe we've got cousins or aunt or uncle that lost their job. They're having a hard time. We're just going to give a monetary gift there, not some tchotchke that they don't need. There's pre-buying gifts during the year. If it works for you, party on. I tried it once and then I forgot where I put everything. If it works for you, by all means, you buy things throughout the year and you put it away. Right? Exchanging gift idea lists. There are all kinds of things online. If you do a secret Santa, if you do a grab bag, there are things that help you draw names. But again, have a conversation. Don't let one person be thinking I'm buying for the whole family and no, we're just buying for the kids. And if it's a new gift-giving tradition that you're starting, there will be resistance. And even if you've said we're only buying for the kids, somebody will buy you a gift. You graciously accept it. Don't go down the guilt path of, well, now I have to get them something. They got me something. That's not what the holiday is about. They wanted to bring you something. You accept it graciously. Decorating, again, you want to keep it simple. I have an issue with Christmas light wars. I don't think those words should be in the same sentence. Don't think your house needs to be seen from Mars. If that's you, that's fine. But you don't want to add that on as another thing we have to do. Right? Talk to the family, involve everyone. What would you like to do this year? Would you like a real tree? Would you like an artificial tree? Should we have a theme? Should we let the kids help? Have that conversation. Right? Change it up. And again, watch your budget. Have the kids make decorations. Go do the old-fashioned route of cranberries and popcorn. Right? Or it might be, you know what, this year, we're not going to decorate that much because of things that have gone on. Again, making sure you're having the conversation so that people know what's going on and they understand why you're breaking that tradition, if you will, or you're starting a new tradition. Again, scheduling, right? It's, again, if you're listening to this, it's after Thanksgiving, so you're only a week behind, right? create a calendar from Thanksgiving, the week after, until the week after New Year's Day. Right? What does that calendar look like? Color coded if needs be, especially if you have young adults and college age. They're going to want to be with their friends. Even the little ones, they're going to have play dates and thus and such. Right? And again, ask for help, because now the older is driving. They can take the little one to the play date. Right? Write down what's going on so there's no surprises. And you want to make sure that you have a mix of things. Are we doing, hence Friendsgiving showed up, right? Are we doing something with just our friends? Are we doing something with friends and family? Is the event friendly for everybody? Are we going to do something? We have a whole bunch of littles. Are we going to do something just for the littles? And then maybe hire a babysitter for a night so that the adults can have an adult party or cocktail hour, whatever it might be. Right? Again, keeping in mind, things have changed. So do we have a lot of elders? Well, we're not going to sit down to dinner then at 6 p.m. We have elders. Maybe we want to have a brunch this year. Maybe we want to eat earlier. But that's, again, I keep coming back to it. That's why we have that conversation, so that people can voice their concerns, their allergies, their whatever it is, right? We need to have those conversations. This is very important. This planning something to avoid the post-holiday blues, right? We talked about the holiday blues. There are post-holiday blues, right? Everyone's gone back home. My sister's gone back to Chicago. My brother went back down south. I'm not seeing them. They were here for 2-3 days. We saw the kids. There was a lot of movement and thus and such. Well, now it's quiet, and I live alone. So I want to make sure that I'm not, again, withdrawing, being depressed. Plan something, right? Don't wait for somebody else. Be that person, plan it. And there are tons of things. Sometimes people do a brunch where they'll set up the coffee or tea, and everybody brings all the extra cookies and cakes and things that they'll never eat. They bring them, right? There's one I went to one time where people bring gifts that they got, that maybe they got it in the grab bag at work or whatever it is. It's not them. It's not their style, right? But they wrap it, and you do like a hot potato, and everybody, you keep passing it around, and you stop as long as you don't wind up with your own gift, right? There's tons of things online. Plan activities, plan something for the new year, plan a vision board party where everybody comes with magazines and poster board and scissors and glue, and we talk about our goals and resolutions for the new year. Because that first week, and especially if you're in the Northeast, and that first week is snowy and rainy and dark, right? It can be a very easy time to get the blues. So if nothing is planned, be the one to plan it and invite everyone. And again, making sure that you know that no is a complete sentence. You can say no to events. You can say no to events with friends, and feeling okay about it. Do what works for you, honoring what's going to make you feel better. And once you say no, let it go. You're not feeling guilty about having set those boundaries. Right? So we want to stay healthy throughout the season. Watch what you're eating, right? Managing medical conditions. I've heard so many people say things like, well, I'm not going to take my medication today because I know I'm going to have wine at the party. Is it worth it? Is it worth it to maybe have your nieces and nephews see the ambulance come for you? Probably not, right? Limiting your alcohol consumption. You don't want to be the person that embarrasses themselves, or worse, makes themselves sick. Right? And if you know that you can eat something, you're going to have a reaction, not worth it. Again, you're going to be laid up and you can't enjoy the rest of the festivities. Again, making sure you're staying active, getting some kind of exercise. I talked to a group the other day. They said they have a tradition that for Thanksgiving, after dinner, they all go bowling before they have dessert. Take a walk with your sister that you haven't seen. Right? Make sure you are getting rest and getting sleep. Because when we're not resting, we're not sleeping, we're not eating well, we're going to get sick. Our immune system is lowered. Right? And we want to stay up, we want to be involved, but we're not staying up. Here's where we back up against tradition. We're not staying up to bake that stuffing that we think everybody likes, only to find out that they really don't like it. So we stayed up till 2 a.m. shelling chestnuts or whatever it is. Right? Be realistic. So again, as you're going through life, you're going through the holidays, right? We're having challenges. We're all struggling with something. Know that there is help for you. And one of the places you can reach out for help is your EAP, which is Anthem, right? The website is anthemeap.com, and you're going to enter your company code. It's your whole company name. It's Kenton County Schools. And you can call. The toll-free number is 800-865-1044. And what I say about the website, take a look at it before you need it so you can familiarize yourself with what services are there. And these services are for you as employees and for your family members as well. And it is at no cost to you, and it is confidential. Also, our referrals are available 24/7. It has been a pleasure to be with you today. Thank you for taking time out of your very busy schedule to do this session. Please, whatever you celebrate, stay healthy and enjoy. And it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for your time and attention.